Can you see my screen? If you can see my screen, please, I would like to know.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can see your screen.
So this workshop is titled Study Abroad, Japa Academically. It's an interesting caption. You know, Japa being the word reference for escape in Nigeria, and then academically being reference for going to grab more knowledge or better opportunity. So Japa Academically, but I want us to connote this in a very, very nice manner. As Abia Progressive Youths, the goal is simple: to go get more knowledge, go get equipped, and come back to Abia to progress the state. And that is a goal that is worthy and noble and achievable. So in the next few minutes, I'll go pretty fast. There's a whole lot of things that we have to cover, but we can't cover everything at this single session. So I'll go pretty fast, starting with introduction, going through the study abroad processes, and taking questions that are necessary from any of us. So at any point, if you want to interrupt, you can just put a message in the chat, or you can raise your hand or use one of the emojis. It will pop up on my screen. So I titled this presentation, How I Won 6 Scholarships Abroad. So this is entirely from a personal perspective and personal experience. And when we talk about study abroad, it's all about going to some other place outside your nation state to study. It could be going to Benin Republic, which is very close to us, could be going to Cameroon, could be going to Ghana, could be anywhere outside your nation state. So that captures the study abroad. For my own case, I've been opportunity to study in 2 continents. One is Europe, the other is the North American continent. So the perspective I'm also sharing is from these 2 locations. I might not give you adequate information regarding Asia or regarding other African countries. So get to know me. My name is Amare Izugenius. So I'm part of Abia Progressive Youths. So you know. And what else is there to know? I'm currently in the United States, where I'm also studying. I'm doing a PhD program. In 2012, that's a long time ago, I gained admission to study mass comm at UNIZIK. So I did that for 4 years. Then after that, I started working. I worked for organizations like Google and for organizations like WFD, Westminster Foundation for Democracy. This is back in Nigeria. I did this for some years, 3 to 4 years. Then I moved to Europe for my master's. I finished that. I worked a while. Then I went back to school again. I moved to the US for another master's. I did that, finished that, and I started a PhD program. So this is me and my academic journey. So for the past more than 12 years, I've been in school, in and out. I mean, I've had some working experience spanning about 6 years, and I've also gone back to school. So that is me. So this is just the journey I just mentioned, but let's talk about the pictures. The first picture, which is by my left, looking at the screen, is me in Sweden. So this is in front of the Swedish Parliament. I think I was with my friend who came visiting from another European country, and then we decided to visit here, took some picture. The second picture is me after I got a fellowship to participate as a youth delegate at the World Forum for Democracy. So as an Abia Progressive Youth, I try to engage in fellowships and scholarships other than classroom. So I have also gotten fellowships that are not classroom, that are governance focused. fellowships that are diplomacy focused. So this is me at the World Forum for Democracy in France. So we were discussing how can democracy save the environment. So this was sponsored by the Council of Europe. And the other picture is another picture I took. I got a fellowship to Italy to study migration. So I was in an exchange program, an exchange lab, where we visited the people coming from Mediterranean Sea. We visited some organizations that are into migration. We did some study programs in Italy, all around Rome. So that was fellowship. And then PhD, I'm currently running PhD program. So two masters, three fellowships, one PhD. And these are all on scholarship. And over these years, I have come to understand what is at stake and what is common. What are the things that make you win and what are the things that make you not to win? I won my first scholarship, which was SI scholarship, Swedish Institute scholarship. It took me from Nigeria to Sweden. It paid for my flight. It gave me an allowance, monthly allowance, and paid for my tuition. Aside that, I got this other fellowship that took me to different places at different times. I got another scholarship to do a second master's in the US, which I have done and completed. And I got another scholarship to do a PhD. So when it comes to applying for scholarships, I have applied to many of them. When it comes to winning, I have also won many of them. And out of the six I can brag that I've won, I have failed to win so many others. I once applied to Chevening, I didn't get in. I once applied to Mandela Washington Fellowship. After the interview, they dropped me. I once applied to Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. I once applied to University Independent Scholarship. Sometimes I got partial scholarship. Sometimes I got full scholarship. Sometimes I got nothing. So these are the experiences I'm bringing together to share right now. But I was thinking, how can I share these experiences and give you a maximum understanding of how you can practically, step by step, engage in study abroad without necessarily spending all your money? Because studying abroad is quite expensive. So to study abroad, the best, easiest means is by getting a scholarship. So this conversation will be based on scholarship, will be based on opportunities for fellowships, opportunities alike. So I will go to the most basic level of discussion. And like I said, if you have any question at any point, please feel free to always interrupt by raising up your hand or an emoji. So when you hear about fully funded scholarship, this is what they are talking about. So I want us to also focus on fully funded, not partial funded, not some funding, but fully funded. So fully funded is just like the SI scholarship that I got, the Swedish Institute scholarship that I got some years back. It covers your tuition. Tuition is the school fees. It gives you a monthly allowance. It pays you every month for you to study. It provides you travel aid or travel grant or pays for your flight so that your moving would be very, very easy. That's also what Sweden did. Swedish government paid for my flight, paid for all those things. It also gives you insurance, health insurance. So it's important that you have health insurance in case of health emergencies and the like. Also, it puts you in a network or an association where you can connect with other scholars, where you can connect with other persons who are in the same league as you are. And these are the 5 major things that makes a scholarship fully funded. Now, depending on the country, depending on the location, there are some other things you might want to consider. As a Nigerian, as somebody who has investment in 2 places, in 2 nations, One is, what is the work study policy of the country or of the school? The second thing is, what's the residence permission for this location? So you have to check out all these things for you to make a decision of which scholarship you're going to give your all and your everything to get. Unless you just want anything partial or as much as you can get. But if you want the scholarship that will just drastically change your life and make life easy for you, you've got to consider all these factors you can see on the screen. I will describe them a bit later. So I will base this conversation using the Swedish Institute Scholarship from Sweden, which also is almost the same as Chevening, almost the same as Commonwealth Shared, almost the same as Orange Scholarship, all these popular scholarship, the South Korean scholarship, the Chinese scholarship, they're all almost the same. So I will be using this as our case study.
Now, that indomitable.
Well, there's no indomitable here, but you just meet yourself. Okay. So these are the 3 steps I employed. They are all clear, simple, and direct. One step I want you to employ if you want to study abroad, the very first step is to research. And this step is the step that takes most of your energy and time. And this is also the step people in many, many cases give up. Research. The second step is taking the accurate and right action. And the last step is to follow up. So I want to discuss these things one after the other. Research. So the first question you want to ask yourself is, what program do I want to study? Most of you know that, most of you don't. Oh, you did communication just like me in your bachelor's degree. What do you want to do for a master's degree? Or you don't have a bachelor's, you want to go for bachelor's. What do you want to do? Or you have a master's already, you want to go for PhD. What program do you want to do? You've got to answer that question, because if you don't have the answer, it will affect every other part. It will affect the schools you're looking for. It will affect the country you want to go to. It will affect the scholarship that you decide to choose. What program do you want to study? Once you answer that question, the next thing is, okay, what universities offer this program? Then when you outline that, okay, which countries are best for this program and what are the scholarship opportunities available in these countries? Now, if you follow these steps, there's something that will happen that will give you a bigger chance. Some scholarships are very popular, some are not. So Chevening scholarship is super popular. I mean, everybody knows, everybody in Nigeria, because of the UK advertisement and promotion, know Chevening scholarship. Many people know Commonwealth scholarship. And when you apply to these scholarships, your chances get lower because of there's so many other applicants who are equally good as you are. But if you follow these steps, something happens in your research. If you first of all decide your program or your programs, you can like, okay, I've got these 3 areas of interest. I've got these 3 programs. I want to do communication. I want to do economics. I want to do, something related to health, something like that. You've got 3 areas. Now you start looking for universities. Of course, universities are domiciled in countries. That goes hand in hand. This will allow you to see scholarships people don't know about. There are scholarships that are not popular, that very few people know about the scholarships, and people apply and they get it. So if you follow these steps, the chances that you stump on a scholarship that they are not so popular is very, very high. And when you do, it increases your chances than the very popular ones that everyone is applying to. The next step is about your eligibility. So you've got your program, you've got your university, you've got a scholarship. Oh, you want to apply to Swedish Institute Scholarship. You want to apply to Sweden, or you want to apply to Netherlands for the Orange Scholarship, or you want to apply to South Korea. You've seen this program you want to do, you've seen all this information, and you're like, oh, this is it. Or this, sometimes you can create option 1, option 2, option 3. Okay, scholarship 1, United States, scholarship 2, Sweden, scholarship 3, UK, or scholarship 4, Netherlands. You've got all these things outlined. The next step is your eligibility. Are you eligible? Are you qualified for it? The worst mistake you would do is to apply for something you're not qualified for, because no miracle is going to happen. No one is going to give you approval or mark you as eligible where you're not eligible. It will not happen. So don't waste your time unless you're just kind of training yourself on the processes. Okay, I'm not qualified for Chevening scholarship, but I'll go ahead and apply to test my capabilities in doing this. That's pretty fine. You're not applying to win. So eligibility is very important. Things to look out for in eligibility is citizenship. There are some scholarships that Nigerians are not eligible for. And that one is age. Sometimes it could be a factor, sometimes it's not. So you just have to find out that depending on what you choose. The next thing is about experience. So some scholarships or some opportunities require experience. Excuse me. Some require experience, some require you to have hard working experience. For example, Swedish Institute Scholarship requires that you must have 1 year and 6 months working experience. So if you're fresh from a university, you don't qualify, you're not eligible for Swedish Institute Scholarship. Unless you could prove that you've got some experience while in the university or during your NYSC. So experience was a factor for Swedish Institute Scholarship. In some other scholarships, no, experience is not a factor. So you have to put this all together. The next thing is grade. I go on social media, I see school na scam. I see people mocking those who graduate first class or second class up or third class or whatever. So the case is that when it comes to study abroad and when it comes to scholarship, they all matter. So that you came out with a first class, it matters. You come out with second class, it do matter because these things are reflected in your transcript, not necessarily in the overall first class or necessarily in the second class, upper or lower or wherever, but in your transcript. So I think I will discuss that a bit later too. Then the next thing to look out is language. So you can speak English. There are some parts of the world that don't speak English. So you can some programs that have like to speak French, speak Swedish. Is pay. Are you required to pay anything? What kind of payment are you required to make? Now you have to be careful about this because no scholarship should require you to make payments. No scholarship at all. As far as the scholarship, if they're required to make payments, that is a red flag. Please avoid such scholarship. So no scholarship should require you to make payments. But there are some certain clauses that happen. Let's take Swedish Institute Scholarship, for example. Swedish Institute Scholarship requires you to make no payment, but rather it requires you to get admission to a Swedish university first. Okay, not necessarily first. Apply for admission first before you can apply for this scholarship. So for you to apply for the Swedish Institute Scholarship, you must first of all apply to get admission into a Swedish university, whether you've gotten it or not. Just apply first. Now, but for you to apply for admission into a Swedish university, as someone from Nigeria, you've got to pay. And you have to pay about $100 for admission. So this is just like JAM. They've got the system just like JAM, where you pay to JAM, and then JAM is the one who gives you admission to schools. So you don't necessarily work directly with the school. You apply to this central, but this is Sweden in specifically. So you have to understand the eligibilities regarding all these areas: citizenship, age, experience, grade, language, and payment. The next thing I've got here is the processes involved. So this is the next part of your research. So what are the processes involved? What do you need? What are the things you likely need for these 2, 3, 4 scholarships that you have outlined? These 2, 3 countries you've outlined. Okay, first country is US. I'm applying to this scholarship in the US. Second country is Sweden. I'm applying to Swedish Institute Scholarship. Third is Chevening. I'm applying to Chevening Scholarship. Oh, okay, nice. So you've checked eligibility. Your eligibility is good for the 3 of them. Perfect. The next thing is the process. What is needed? These things are listed here are usually the basic things. These things are listed here. They are the same for Swedish Institute Scholarship. They are the same for Chevening. They are the same. All these big scholarships, they are the same for all of them. So ID documents, passports. So why are you looking for study abroad and you don't have an international passport? That's bad. Please go get one. I mean, if you're interested, if you're in this session this moment, you need to have an international passport. So go get that down. It shouldn't even be when you start applying. Just go get an international passport tomorrow. So that should be the first thing. Cross it off your list. The second thing is that, oh, you want to apply for scholarship abroad, maybe let's say master's, PhD, because those are the scholarships I got. I didn't do bachelor's abroad. I did bachelor's in Nigeria. So you want to get study abroad scholarship and you don't have your certificate. You don't even know what you graduated, unless you're still in school or you're about to graduate. But if you've graduated a year before now, 2 years before now, 3 years before now, please, go get your certificate, go get your transcripts. You can't leave your certificate and transcript with your university. Go get it, have a copy. Let them be with you. Even if you want to apply for next year or next 2 years or next 3 years, go get them and have them with you right now. So why do you need your certificate and why do you need your transcript? In many cases, scholarships might not need it. The scholarships might not need it, but they will help you tell your story. Let me explain. In your transcript shows your academic record. Transcript showed your grade for all the classes you took when you were in your bachelor's program or when you were in your degree. So in your first year in mass communication, you took course 1, theories of mass comm. Second course, you took broadcast media. Third course, this one and that one and that one and that one. Now, in each of those classes, you got a grade, you got B or C or A, and you got some units or some points or some credits. Now, when you want to apply for, let's say you want to apply for a master's in health communication, the requirement for health communication master's program for the university of your choice could be that you must have had a B in a course called health comms during your bachelor's. It could be that you must have had an A or a C for a course related to or called media theory. Now, in many cases, after 5 years of being in school, you've graduated, you've started so many things, you do not know what you got in the class you took in year 1. But your transcript will tell you exactly that. So your transcript allows you to know if you're eligible or not. So get a copy of your transcript. It's an unofficial copy that you get. Go to your university, go to your school, go to the registrar's office, or to your HOD. If you've done a bachelor's, let them know that you need your transcript. They will ask you for some money, you pay them, and they will give you a self-copy, your own copy of your unofficial transcript. So please have your copy of your transcript. The next thing is your CV or your resume. Please create your resume. Some scholarship might require a CV, some might require a resume. I hope you know the difference. CV is more detailed, while resume could be 1 page or 2 pages. Then the next is usually statement of purpose or motivation. Why do you want to apply to this school? Or why do you want to apply to this scholarship? So you have to think about that and you have to write it, and you have to write it nice. You have to write it well. You have to take training. If you don't know how to write this, you have to get people who could coach you. You have to even find someone who can edit your work when you're done. And the next thing is reference letters. Most scholarship require you to get reference letters or recommendation letters. So if you are the kind of person who never spoke to your professors or your lecturers when you were in bachelor's degree, please go find 1 or 2 that you can just say, hello, sir, how are you doing? Or hello, ma, how are you doing? You will likely need them for them to write a recommendation letter for you, or talk to your HOD. Note that it is your HOD, is part of your HOD's job to recommend the students or the former students. So do not be shy to go to your HOD. If they look at your record, they can recommend you because you are part of their students. So, but it is not your right, though, it's a privilege. So reach out to your past professors, lecturers, reach out to the leaders in Abia Progressive. And these are people who could give you recommendation letters. So you have to have some persons in mind, usually 3 persons, 2 from the academia, 1 from elsewhere, usually 2 from the universities, then 1 anywhere. It could be company, it could be, but not friends and family. Then some scholarships, not all, require you to write an essay. They will require you to write this or write that. They will give you a question and require you, what will you do with this? What will you do after this? Like Swedish Institute Scholarship will ask you, oh, if you win this scholarship now, what do you want to learn? What are you going to gain? So you have to tell them what you want to gain, and they'll tell you, oh, you've got to write this in 150 words, or you've got to write this in 200 words. And 150 words is just like 3 sentences, which makes it more difficult. So they could also ask you, okay, after this scholarship, we expect you to come back to your country. For example, chevening. If you apply for chevening, excuse me, if you apply for chevening and win, you're expected to return back to Nigeria after your scholarship program and stay in Nigeria for about 2 years before you could come relocate back to the UK if you want to go to the UK. But in Swedish Instant Scholarship, you're not required to go back, but you're expected to go back. So, for example, in the essays, they'll ask you, when you return back to Nigeria, what do you want to change? What do you want to implement? What do you want to use this scholarship that you've fulfilled? What do you want to use it and achieve back in your home country? So you can tell a story around that. So in many other scholarships, they also need additional proof, evidence. So for the Swedish Institute Scholarship, they will need a proof that you've worked at least 1.5 years. So one of the eligibility requirements is that you must have work experience for 1.5 years. And now they will ask you for a proof. And the proof is to go to the company you worked for, and they will give you a letter and they will stamp it and sign it. And the last part of the process is deadline. Pay attention to deadline. No, okay, this scholarship opens December 1 and closes February 20th. You have that information. Oh, nice, great. You work with that. Deadline, as simple as deadline sounds. So I will be faster from here. The step 2 is actual applying, actual preparation of your document, actual engagement in your study works. So the step 2 is applying for the application. You've chosen Chevening Scholarship. One of the reasons why I failed when I applied for Chevening, I applied for Chevening about maybe 5 years ago. One of the reasons I failed is because I did not tell one story. So I was talking about this and this and this and this and this. You know, I was everywhere. I was here, and there. Please, in scholarship applications, tell one story. Let's say you are a medical doctor. Aside a medical doctor, you're also a sports guy. Aside your sports, you're also into governance. Aside being into governance, you also support gender equality. Apart from gender equality, you also support quality education. There are so many things you could be doing. And of course, you are doing them and you are good at what you do. But please, in scholarship applications, tell one story. If your story is about being a doctor, stick to being a doctor. If you want to talk about gender equality, talk about gender equality in alignment with being a doctor. If you want to talk about a democracy, voting, you want to talk about your work with Abia Progressive, please do it in alignment with being a doctor. Choose one story and tell one story. That really helps and supports your application. The next thing is embrace the UN SDGs. You must know the SDGs by now. If you don't, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Most scholarships are created around UN SDGs. So please go find your niche in the UN SDGs, embrace it, learn about it. Just find one that works so well with you. Make sure that you're very, very familiar with that SDGs you work with. Tell one story, embrace the UN SDGs, and also prioritize leadership story. Many scholarships love people who are leaders, people who take decisions, people who, motivate others, people who has followership, or people who invest, or people who serve, people who always taking idea or concepts to the next stage. So you need to find a leadership story to tell around what you do. Just have these things as part of that your one story. You're in the medical field, okay, show us some in your storytelling, show us where you've taken some effort as a leader, and the rest. Then other things people take for granted is get coaching. Please, don't think you can do it. Don't think you know it all. Attend to workshops like this. Find people who have experienced the niche, get them to coach you, get them to guide you. And also, after writing your application, give it to somebody to review. Please don't ever make this mistake. You can write an application, you can write your essay, you can write your motivation letter, your statement of purpose, and you feel that you read it, you've read it, let's say 5 times, and you feel that this is so perfect. You've read it 5 different times. Do you know that after reading 5 different times, there is a psychological explanation that there is a chance that you could still be missing some important things. You could still be missing some grammatical error. You still be committing some grammatical error. There are a lot of things that could still be missing. So please get coached and get reviewed. Very important. I'll have to be faster. Time is really going too fast than I thought it will. So I've got some tips for actions. Write your reference recommendation yourself. So most scholarships, if not all, most scholarships require you to give a recommendation letter. They require you to submit a recommendation letter. They require you to submit a reference letter. Please, I want to tell you this. Do not write to your HOD and tell your HOD or your professor or even Mr. Kingsley. Kingsley is our leader in Abia Progressive. Do not tell Mr. Kingsley, please, sir, write a recommendation letter for me. Please don't do that. Instead, write a recommendation letter you want from Mr. Kingsley, the recommendation letter you want from him. Write it out in detail, in every detail you want, then send it to him and ask him, sir, please, can you look at this recommendation letter I want you to give to me and edit it to suit what you approve of? Write what you want, write it the way you want it, send it to the recommender, and ask the recommender to edit it to suit what they can approve. Never you allow the recommender to just write. They will likely write off niche. They will likely write without understanding your single story. Remember, you are telling one story. They know you for many things. They know you as somebody into governance. But your story in this scholarship application is strictly about gender equality, or is strictly about some health communication or something, very niche. So write your recommendation letter, give to the recommender to assent. The next thing is, if it's possible, contact the committee in charge of the scholarship. Please, in many scholarships it's not possible, so this might not apply, but in many other scholarships and many other fellowships, it's very, very applicable. Now, let's say you're applying for this fellowship to join some organization to, do something for 1 month in Abuja, and they will pay you, fund everything. Now, it is to your advantage if you start talking to that committee. Now, I need you to understand, those who approve these scholarships are people just like us. They are like everyone else. Sometimes there are people you know, sometimes you don't know who they are. But it's good to take a chance. Start communicating with them, the organization, the team, whoever, the school. You're applying to a school, start writing the school an email. Start asking professors in the school questions. Start writing the school administration, your departmental, especially at the departmental level. Start seeking, have questions to ask, just engage with them. What you do by this is that you are showing two things. You are showing a high level of interest in them. You're also showing that you are doing your homework as an applicant to make sure that you're removing every possibility of you not getting this fellowship or this scholarship. So you are communicating with them. Do it many different times, but just strategize on how many times you do it towards the application. If it's possible, some scholarships is not possible to contact anyone. So if it's possible, you do that. They'll get familiar with you. They get familiar with your name, not necessarily with you, with your name. And during the scholarship review, they want to take only 10 people, and they have 10,000 applications. And out of that 10,000, 1,000 persons are better than you. Believe me, 1,000 persons out of that 10,000 are better than you. They are more qualified. You have third class, they have first class. You failed in one of your courses, they all got an A. You have 1 year work experience, they have 10 years. So there are chances that many people who are applying are better than you, but who they chose is not the best. People who want scholarship are not the smartest. They are not the best applicants. They are just the outstanding applicants. So one of the little ways of being outstanding is your name being familiar. So they are reviewing the scholarship. Oh, they see they see Emmanuel. Oh, Emmanuel has been speaking with them for the past 3 months. Emmanuel has been exchanging correspondence with them, asking them about these intelligent questions, asking them about this and about that, getting to learn this and that. So when immediately they saw your application and they saw, oh, this is good, this passes up, because in application scoring they have rubric. Because I review applications, so I review scholarships too. I joined some organizations to review scholarships. For example, currently I'm reviewing the Mandela Washington Fellowship. So I'm a reader for the Mandela Washington Fellowship. And they have a rubric, they have a guideline for us who review. Okay, these are what we're looking for. These are what we're looking for. Grade them: strong, fair, poor, non-competitive. They've got all these rubrics set aside. Now, I'm using this rubric to grade. After reading each application, I use this rubric to grade them. And of course, I got a notice, maybe, okay, there are some messages in the chat box. So contact, communicate with whoever people that are in charge. In many cases, it will help. In some cases, it's useless. So just know when it's useful. In many cases, it might be useless. In cases like Chevening, Swedish Institute Scholarship, that's useless because the people you're talking to will have nothing to do with the scholarship committee. The scholarship committee might be entirely different people. But university scholarships is very useful. So if you apply for a scholarship that is by a university, the people you are talking to might likely be the professors in the committee in that department, because university scholarships are usually at a departmental level or faculty level or college level. So in your writing, use real life examples, use statistics and data, put dates, put numbers. Don't be afraid of, oh, when you want to tell a story of impact you made, let's say you joined in, for example, in the beginning of this session, Marvelous mentioned that Abia Progressive was able to get 1,000 persons to vote in the last election. Instead of in your scholarship, in your application, instead of you saying, oh, you helped get 1,000 persons to vote. No. Give us data. Tell us between 1st January 2023 to 29th April 2023, you were able to speak directly or indirectly with 5,000 persons. And out of that 5,000 persons, 1,000 persons were able to become valid voters. That statement with data, date, statistics makes all the difference. It shows specificity in your example. It shows that you're certain. It shows clarity. So always use statistics and numbers and data and date in your application. So these are some of the tips I want to share. It still goes on. There is step 3. Step 3 is the follow-up. You don't just apply and go and sleep or sit down. In some scholarships, yeah, you apply, you just go sit down. But in some, you have to follow up. In fellowships, some you have to follow up. Some they already have established processes, and any eligible applicant can win an academic admission or scholarship by follow-up, even with a bad application. And this is true. So, especially in PhD scholarship, especially PhD. PhD, in many cases, might not have, in many cases, your application has to stand out, but in other cases, your interest is what stands out, other than that you have wonderful transcripts or you came with first class or whatever. So in PhD scholarship is a bit different. So in PhD scholarship, follow-up might be your key way of getting that. You could start through cold emailing professors. You could start by engaging professors, engaging their works. Some professors have funding, they have money, they've won $1 million grants. Find out which and who. You can start engaging them, follow up on them, talk with them, share interest with them. That can gain you the scholarship, even with better application. I've seen somebody get scholarship without applying for admission. I mean, this happened this year. This happened last month. So let me tell you, this in the US, this is a friend of mine. So this friend of mine wanted to work. And the work and visa and migration situation in the US is, the US is just unnecessarily difficult, in my opinion. The US immigration system is unnecessarily sad and difficult. But that's the difference. So this friend of mine wanted to, go into the industry. And to go into the industry, you need a company to sponsor your visa. So he applied to companies, they called him for interviews. He passed stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. So he was kind of sure that he's getting the job, only for the company to tell him that we cannot sponsor you. That means we cannot give you the job because you're a foreigner. And the hope was dashed. And this, my friend, was out of bound. He didn't know what to do next. But luckily for him, he already had conversations, he already had friendship, he already had expertise with professors. So a professor was like, okay, I could put you in my lab, you could come work in my lab, and you could start a PhD. Admission has closed. Nobody's applying for admission. And if he doesn't start a PhD school within the next 60 days, that is 2 months, he will become illegal in the US. And admission has closed. So, but because he's been able to show over time that he is good in what he does, because he had good follow-up with professors, he was offered admission, and the professors told the school, I've got this brilliant student who didn't meet up with the admission timeline, but I need him in my lab. The school opened the portal for him to apply for admission. He applied for admission today. He started school on Monday. This lived experience. I'm not telling you stories that I made up. This lived experience here in the US. So because of the professors you've followed up, but these are PhD level, not masters or bachelors. I think I'll just go ahead. Like I said, if there are questions, so these are the usual timelines for scholarships all around the world. Most scholarships begin now, like this September, this Ember month. It's usually August. Even once August starts, most scholarships all over the world opens up. So if you want to leave Nigeria by next year and go abroad to study, you have to start tonight. You have to start tonight. So for Swedish Institute, it opens up in October. This timeline is for Swedish Institute scholarship. So October admission opens up. The same October, they will tell you all master's programs are not eligible for the scholarship. So they will release specific ones that are eligible. So yours might be there, yours might not be there. November, they will release templates because they've got specific template for application. January, application portal opens. February, it closes. April, admission result is out. April, scholarship announced. May, June, you get your visa, residence permit. By August, you are in Europe or wherever your scholarship is. So this is and all over the world is the same. It usually starts August to August. So from August, everything opens up. The next August, you are where you want to be. So for PhDs, so most PhDs are all year round. Fellowships are all year round. So you don't need to wait August to August. There are ones going on now. There's always be something every time, for different semesters. So for PhD. So these are some other timelines you might just want to take note of, but this is dependent on what exactly you are applying to. So this time I want to take questions and know if there's anyone who has any question. Let me go through the chats. Maybe I'll start with that. So now is the time for us to have some conversation. So I'll stop sharing the screen. I will continue sharing the screen in a while, but let's just have some conversation at this time, since we have a small community here. So the first question I can see on the chat box is, how do we, okay, so how do we engage them, like where our discussions are focused? Some of these questions I do not understand, but I'll just go to the one I understand, which is the last one. So the last question here says, what's the fate of HND holders with lower credit grade? So for HND, so I need you to look at things from a very academic point of view. if you have HND and you want a master's, you could get a master's, you could get a PhD. In many countries in the world, don't look at whether you have HND or BSc. In many other countries, they do look at whether you have HND or BSc. So the first homework is to find out which country or which school
the phone, but I can take it.
or which program you apply to. So let's take, for example, you're applying to the US. In many programs in the US, they don't care if you have HND or BSc if you want to go for masters. Rather, what they care about is how many credits do you already have. So most bachelor's program is 270 credits that you get. So you need to check out your HND program. How many credits have you acquired? So if you have acquired at least 270 credits, then that means you're qualified for a master's. So it doesn't matter whether it's HND or BSc. In some cases, it might matter. So just homework you need to do. So that of low grade is based on, please, when you're applying to study abroad, what do you mean by low grade? First of all, schools give admission based on transcripts, not usually based on overall. Sometimes overall matters. But let's say you studied economics in your bachelor's program, and now you want to do in your master's, you want to do, let's say, industrial economy, or you want to do something in banking. They will, in the admission entry requirements, they will write, for you to do this course, you must have at least a C in mathematics, at least a B in accounting, at least a this in this. They will write those things. Go check out the universities. Now, your job is to go to your transcript and check whether you qualify. Maybe you came out with a third class, and your math, you got an A. And in your accounting, you got the B that is required. And in whatever, you met the requirement. So once you met the requirements, you're good to go. You're as good as the person who gets first class. So it is your transcript that you pay attention to. But sometimes if you have low grade, it might also mean that all your individual classes are low, but that's not the case at all times. So you have to know, you just have to go study your transcript and study requirements. And that should answer that. So that you already have a low grade, I mean, it doesn't change much. So it just limits you in the options you have. So what areas we focus on engaging them? Engaging who? Who are you engaging? Please, you can speak. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. So I'm just open for questions in case anyone will have some questions to ask. So I want us to, reason together in this question and answer session. So, but if there are no further questions, I think I will just be concluding. This is
I have
me.
a question.
Okay.
Please, under step 2, processes involved while applying for this scholarship. You said something. Okay, you made mention of certificate that is very necessary for us to have. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It is very necessary for us to have certificate while applying for this scholarship. So my question is it specifically for those that have degrees from higher institution, or is it also eligible for O-level students to also apply for this scholarship? Because an O-level student doesn't have these certificates or these degree certificates or transcripts from higher institutions. So I want to know their hope of getting this admission if really they want to apply for it. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. But I have to say this. You're actually wrong. So you're not right, you're wrong. You're wrong because O level have both transcripts and certificates. So when you're done with your O level, there are four kinds of certificates you get. Usually, at least I got them. You get your WAEC results or WAEC certificates. I got my NECO certificate. I got my school certificate, and I got my school testimonial. So from my secondary school, from my high school, I have 4 certificates. For my O level, I have testimonial, I have certificate from my school, I have WAEC, and I have NECO. So if you're applying as a bachelor's student, for bachelor's, or if you just did O level, get all these things in your box. Get all the certificates, get them, all the ones that you can get from your school, get them in your box. Also for your transcripts, every school in Nigeria gives report card every time. So your school has a record of your report card from the first time you joined to the last time. So go get them. They are all transcripts. I've got my transcript from secondary school. I know what I scored in secondary school. So I have transcripts. So the report card from you that you got from the JS1 to your SS3, all of them together, they are your transcripts. So sometimes you don't have them, you've lost them. Just go to your school will dig out the record, and your school will stamp and sign them. So you have transcripts. Everything I'm saying applies to all levels. It's same concept, same idea. Just the difference will now be is specific scholarship you're applying for. If you're applying for Chevron scholarship, is now unique. If you're applying for some bachelor scholarship in some country, is now unique. You're applying to go to China for medical school with some scholarship, or the next scholarship, for bachelor students is now kind of unique. So I hope I'm able to answer that. I have another question on the chat box. Can someone who had HND in a particular course go for a different course entirely in BS degree courses abroad? If yes, how possible is that? So the answer is yes. I can study mass communication. I did mass communication. That's what I studied. So I can decide to go abroad and study something entirely different. So it's very much possible. So, but the difference or the glitch will be your transcript. Now, for you to qualify for a class, for a course, they look at your transcript. That's one. So let's say, for example, I did mass comm in bachelor's. Now I want to go to UK. I want to study, let's say, international relations. Or let's say I want to study business. I want to go to business school. So business is entirely different from mass communication. Now they might ask, one of the requirements would be that I have a grade in mathematics, that I have a grade in it could be in some business class, it could be statistics. Another request can be I have. So if you go to my transcript, in my year 1, I did statistics. I did statistics borrowed from psychology. As a mass comm student, I did statistics. So in my head, if they qualify, what they need is statistics. So that means I'll get admission. I'm qualified, even though I'm coming from mass comm. I have no accounting history or business or whatever. So it is that transcript that will make that possible. Another thing that will make that possible is that some schools specifically are open to every field. Some classes, especially in graduate studies, masters and PhD, studying is interdisciplinary. So your research is not limited to the department or to the area or to the subject. So you can maybe you did computer science, because in my PhD program, my classmates or colleagues, some did computer science, some did English, some did. So we are a PhD cohort, and we are from diverse background, or from all over the world. A friend of mine from my colleague from Korea, he has a background in computer science. Another colleague that's from India has a background in English. And that one has a background in philosophy. So, and we're all doing, because it's graduate level, so it's interdisciplinary research. So it doesn't really matter what your O level is, it's about what you prove you can do. So the next question from Chijioke says, on the issue of language, is it a must to have IELTS before I can qualify? No, it's not a must. I never wrote IELTS at all. So let me tell you a little story. So I was in Nigeria. I was working for Google then and WFD. I was doing consultancy for WFD. So, but I wanted to study abroad. I wanted to expand because I was working with international organizations, and I knew that okay, I needed to be in this kind of space. And one of the ways of being in that kind of space of self-development is by going back to school. So I was looking for schools to go to. Initially, I was trying to go to the UK. That was because of Chevening Scholarship and Commonwealth. I was initially wanted to go to the UK. Then I found, I could go to Sweden, and Sweden, I don't need this IELTS exam for Sweden. Sweden waives it for, if you're from Nigeria, they know you can speak English. So you don't need it for. So some countries don't need it. Some countries don't need it. Then I went to Sweden. It all worked out for me. So from Sweden, I moved to America. And in America, some schools require it, some don't. For example, I wanted to, because I was looking, okay, for me, this is personal to me. I was like, if I want to do my PhD, I need to do my PhD in the best universities in the world. I was not just going for any school or for any place or for. So I was looking at, based on my program, I wanted to apply to MIT, Penn State, NYU, Northwestern, Stanford, Harvard. So these were like 7 schools I pinned down. And these 7 schools are top 10 in the world. They are in the top 10. So I checked Harvard. I found out that, do you know that, even so, to my surprise, when I was doing research, this is the time of research, I found out that Harvard does not have a course I can do. I was surprised because I was like, oh, Harvard, they have every course, Then I found out that Harvard University had no course that I wanted to do. The closest course that Harvard University had was a course related to languages, linguistics or Latin or stuff like that. I was like, oh, I want to do something in communication, and they don't have any communication program. I was surprised myself. So research told me that. Then I went to NYU. NYU said, oh, for me to be with them, because I was communicating, I was exchanging emails, communicating with them. NYU said that I must do WES evaluation. So a WES evaluation is this evaluation where they'll check your result and grade, and they'll make sure it's the American standard or whatever. And they also said I must do English test, language proficiency. I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I went to Northwestern. Northwestern was like, oh, application fee is $120. But for you juniors, we're gonna make it free. They waived the application fee for me because I was communicating with them. I was in conversation with them. So they waived the application fee for me. They waived the language requirement for me. They waived everything for me. And they told me welcome. And Northwestern is one of the best universities in the world. Top 10 in America. They're called the Big 10. Northwestern, Harvard, Princeton, you know them. So they welcomed me, and I'm there. So it depends on which school, where, country, location, and communication with them. In America, some will require you to, and some will not. In some, they will tell you, we need you to write the English proficiency exam. But when you talk to them, they will it for you. So that's that on English test. A lot of things in your hands. So on the last question I've got here, I wanted to know if O-level students are eligible to apply for scholarship abroad. Yes, of course, O-level students are eligible, and there are so many O-level students winning scholarships every day. There are so many of them. I know some of them. So you're very much qualified. You just need to do the research. That's that first step. Go back to the first step I shared. You need to do the research. When you find the scholarship or scholarships you want to apply to, that's when you now enter the second stage of eligibility and the tips of applying. So let's start with the first stage. What scholarship do you want to apply to? There's a research you have to do. You don't apply because your friend applied. You apply because, okay, this is what I want to do. Because it requires time, energy, and effort. So in absence of any other question, do we have any question? In absence of any other question, I will want to hand over the mic back to the organizers. And I hope this is enriching. And I want to also introduce you to some other things I engage in.
From here, where do we go from here?
So from here, where to go to? First of all, I need you to connect with me. So this is my personal blog, my personal website, just my last name. So this is my personal site. If you want to connect with me, if you want to be my friend on social media, I'm available. Then I have a group where I share scholarships and opportunities. So every day we share the scholarships that are available. You can check what you're qualified for. We share the fellowships that are available. So you might want to join the group. It's on Telegram. And I have a YouTube channel where I share all this information. Where if Abia Progressive permits, this video recorded could also be there. So you also find so many other interesting content regarding study abroad or migration there. So you can check this out. And importantly, I also engage in coaching, but this is exclusive. You can't just find it online. So let me show you. You can't just find it even on my site. It's exclusive. So let me quickly open. Yes. So I have this platform. Where I coach people. So this is exclusive, not for everyone. It's for people who have done what they should do. So what you should do is that you know for sure that you want to apply for it, or you want to apply for admission abroad, or for visa, or for stuff like that. So when you know for sure that you want to apply, and when you have an idea of what you want to do, have an idea, okay, I have an idea, I want to go to the US, or you have an idea, I want to go to UK, or I want to go to China for this kind of program. When you have that idea, that is now when I come in. So I have a monthly paid coaching session where every day we go through what you want to do, depending on what you subscribe for, because it's based on subscription, and we have different kind of subscription. So for whatever you want, we can work together one-on-one on that. One-on-one. This is another level of coaching, is me and you one-on-one. I'm not you being in a group of 1,000 people. No. Not you being in a group of a lot of people, and then we share webinar and we share. No. This is one-on-one coaching. So it takes time, it takes studying. So but it's on a monthly subscription, and the monthly subscription is for a specific ask, a specific request. So if you're sure you want to apply to some school abroad for admission, you're sure you want to engage in the next level of I want to Japa Academically, you have to be sure that you want to do it, because it takes research. Research is not easy. I'm not trying to make this sound so fun or so hard. Research is not so easy. So when you're sure of that, the next step is to reach out to me.